I know they've been very active on Facebook and a lot of radio spots and so forth. So thank you for joining us.
Americans for Legal Immigration PAC is a small budget conservative organization founded nationally in 2004. And I wanted to tell you who we were up front, because when you hear the word PAC or Political Action Committee, it makes you want to throw rocks and heavy objects at me, because I know that your mailboxes and your television screens have been inundated by super PACs. And it's so hard to tell who's actually behind them, because you've got Alabama Rhino PAC, and another one's like Alabama Conservative Christians PAC and whatever. And to find out who's behind them, you got to go dig through the federal elections reports and find the layers of the onion to get to people like Mitch McConnell and the other DC swamp big money people who are trying to buy this race in Alabama. We're not one of those PACs, and if you saw the odometer on my family vehicle, you'd understand that. My supporters have sent me here to tell you about how important Mo Brooks is to the national fight to try to stop and reverse illegal immigration in America through the humane enforcement of our existing immigration laws. The Biden-Harris border disaster is not only costing you taxpayer resources, jobs, and many Americans their lives and security, but we're looking at the largest numbers to ever enter the U.S. illegally. And we could ask some anthropologists, but what it may be the largest movement of people in the history of mankind into the United States. And it's not all happening by accident. There are big power groups that are involved with it, and they're looking for a conservative or Republican from the state of Alabama that can speak to you and sound really good on immigration, which I gotta be honest, when I read Katie Britt's positions on immigration, she studied the polling data. She never talks about amnesty. She never talks about immigration reform. Build the wall. The wall won't help us if we can't find employers that hire illegal immigrants. The wall won't help us if they allow the amnesty bills, which Representative Mo Brooks and Jeff Sessions were instrumental in stopping, because the Democrats would have picked up over 10 million additional voters under those bills. Now, illegal immigrants and non-citizens are not supposed to vote in U.S. elections, but unfortunately, one of my group's messages is they clearly are, and we have over 72 documented examples, large and small, indicating a systematic pattern of illegal immigrants and non-citizens and the illegal immigrants in some cases registering and voting in U.S. elections. And the problem with that is there's a box on the form, we've all seen it, are you a U.S. citizen, yes or no? Now, if you check no, your local board of elections will see that and say, you're not going to be processed as a voter. If you check yes, you will be processed, and in most states, no one on the local, state, or federal level ever checks. And if you try to check, like the state of Florida or Georgia have tried to do, accessing the federal databases you need to be able to make those immigration determinations, you get blocked by the deep state or Barack Obama's administration refusing to do it. So you're so lucky, thanks to leaders like Mo Brooks, that you have not already been permanently displaced by illegal immigrants turned into Democratic voters. And the fact that the United States, and this goes to the people who are watching the stream or they'll watch the recording this later, the fact that the American citizenry has a chance in 2022 to vote your way out of this disaster is a miracle that wouldn't be there if it were not for leaders like Mo Brooks. Because Mo Brooks didn't just vote against amnesty bills. Anybody knows Mo, he's more than just a vote. He'll be more than a vote in the Senate. He's a game changer. And he's a man of principle. And he's got I don't know him personally. I wish I did. I'd love to hang out with Mo Brooks. Maybe not play baseball with him. Sorry about it. But you know, I'm glad he mentioned what happened. I mean, he's the man who the left has actually put a barrel of gun, pulled the trigger on. Pulled the trigger on. A lot of times you can tell who's right about the issues by who the left hates the most. And before some recent endorsements I really don't care to discuss, Katie Britt's campaign is clearly, I hope you folks can do something about the open primary in the future. And I have promised that if you make a move in the state legislature to allow Republicans to pick who your Republican candidate is going to be, I will come back and help you with that to the best of my abilities. And I think you'll get a better choice. But I believe that Mo Brooks is willing to lose. I really do. I believe that he is willing to lose because from what I know of him professionally, he is a man of principle. And if somebody in his campaign brought something in and said, polling data says, if you say this about Katie Britt, you'll win. And he looked at it and he didn't feel that it was truthful. I think we would put it out. I've seen Katie Britt's campaign materials, and I can tell you that's not the case in that campaign. Things like Mo Brooks is a rhino. Now I want to talk about a rhino, because a lot of people keep talking about rhino. And before I say anything, I want you to know, I truly believe that the group in America that is trying the hardest to get things right are GOP primary voters. I know how the Democratic Party works with their identity politics. I'm voting this way because I'm black. I'm voting this way because I'm Hispanic. I'm voting this way because I'm gay or straight. My identity. Issue-oriented discussions, we're seeing them beneath our Facebook ads about Brooks and Britt. Republican voters are trying to get it right, despite all of our shortcomings. And I believe that that's where the hope for the country is, in these GOP primaries. And I think that's where the hope is over the next 48, 72 hours, because a lot of Alabamians are trying to make a decision. But anyone, and I mean anyone, who repeats the Britt campaign lies that Mo Brooks is and the DC swamp money, Mitch McConnell, $17+ million is being spent to call Mo Brooks a rhino, is some type of inversion of reality that I just don't understand. Let's define a rhino. Okay, a rhino is a Republican in name only, meaning someone who may be running or elected as a Republican who is not loyal to the party's platform, or does not stay loyal to what they campaigned on once they get to DC. Mo Brooks is considered to be one of the most, if not the most, conservative member of the U.S. Congress. If there's a definition of a rhino and the opposite of it, it's Mo Brooks. Do you disagree with him on things? Sure you do. People don't like certain votes that he's made about this or that, but all of the core issues that are most important to Republicans, whether it's border security, gun rights, right to life, anything along those lines, Mo Brooks is consistently across the board the most non-rhino person you can send to Washington, D.C. And he's proven it because he's willing to tell you things he believes, even if he knows it's going to hurt him politically. He is willing to lose. If it means lying to win this race, Mo Brooks, does anybody think he'll do it? Yeah, I don't think he'll do it. I think they could walk in there tonight and say, sir, if you're going to have any chance, you got to say this about Katie Britt. And he's like, I don't think that's true. I don't think Mo will do it. And while that means we have to disagree with them sometimes, I'd rather have someone tell me the truth that I did not want to hear or I did not agree with than to do what so many politicians do. But our thing is immigration, and we want you to know how important Mo Brooks is to the national fight against illegal immigration and in support of the humane enforcement of our existing immigration laws and Constitution, including Article 4, Section 4. Mo Brooks has called this an invasion, and it is an invasion. And under Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, all states are to be protected from invasion. These illegals that are voting, if they get the amnesty, they become the Democrats' new machine politic transporter, Chicago-style, Las Vegas, bring them out voting bloc. The shrewd considerations of GOP primary voters and the people that show up at Republican auxiliaries, or those brave people that go to the conventions and actually craft the Republican Party platform, that all gets erased and displaced permanently. And many of the George Soros-backed, Mark Zuckerberg-backed, billionaire-backed power groups behind this invasion that are encouraging illegal immigrants to enter and remain in the United States unlawfully, that's exactly what they want. I think America has been an anathema to the blue blood aristocrats since the founding. This idea that common Joes and people who used to dress like Davy Crockett in this country 200 years ago having a say over what happens over the blue bloods, they've never liked it. And so what we see through mass immigration and illegal immigration is an aristocratic group of oligarchs trying to return or sustain control of that here in the United States. And Mo, he clearly seems to understand those issues, and he has put his neck out there. And as a person who has fought with, we call them the OBLs, the Open Borders Lobby. As a person who has fought them, I want you to think of two things before you vote, and think of these things as you speak with others or interact with other people. One, standing up to the OBLs, or the Open Border Lobby, it's not a fun thing to do. They're completely ruthless. They have vast amounts of money and armies of attorneys. they can do about, Jeff Sessions called them the masters of the universe, and they have almost unlimited resources, and fighting against them like Mo has done, it is not a pleasant or fun thing to do. And when it comes down to the decision, you've got to worry about Alabama and Alabama issues. And I think if you do that, when you look at the inflation problem, the fact we have people who cannot afford food and gas in the country right now, the fact we have people leaving states like California to move to Mexico because people all across the country are starting to wonder if they can afford to live in their own country anymore. Our city's spiraling out of control with violence that we don't even know the scale of because we don't have enough police officers left to even send them into some neighborhoods. In places like Durham, North Carolina, next to my home, people are calling 911 and no one's answering because they don't have the staff in the 911 center and they don't have the people to send. These are the issues that are more important than my endorsement or any ex-president's endorsement. These are the issue-based contents that we really want to see here. And you're going to send a message on Tuesday, whether you want to or not, you're going to send a message to the DC swamp and the country. And that message will either be that Mitch McConnell can come in here and spend $17 million lying through a bunch of shell corporation PACs and bring someone to DC who's going to be beholden to that money, who will, I can tell you from seeing Katie Britt's material, she'll vote for amnesty. She'll tell you it's not an amnesty. I've been fighting the amnesty that's not an amnesty for many years because they know if they use the word amnesty or admit to it like Eric Cantor, they'll get thrown out. And Eric Cantor, Katie Britt's outspending Mo Brooks, probably 2 or 3 to 1. Eric Cantor outspent our grassroots candidate 21, but admitted to a support for amnesty for illegal aliens and still lost. That's how important the immigration issues are to people. And people say, well, Alabama, we're not on the border like Texas. Everybody's a border state now. The government is flying them in. So please, on Tuesday, send a message to the DC swamp and the nation that, Mitch McConnell, we're sending you one of the top illegal immigration and border hawk fighting people in the United States Congress. We're sending them to your side of the house with a very clear message that we've had enough. We want our existing border and immigration laws enforced, and the man that will represent that the best is Mo Brooks. Thank you for your time so much.